ahead.
My name is Jay Mindlin. We are former members of Hope Lutheran, Pompano Beach, which has now become part of Shepherd of the Coast with the present members that we now have.
Yes, and my name is Wanda Mindlin. We were members for several years. We first started there when our son Patrick went to school, and Pastor Hoyer was pastor then at that time. Through the school, programs, we became involved with Hope. It was such a loving church, and Pastor Hoyer was so loving, and Jay was Jewish, and he was so accepting. And during that time, Jay had become baptized, and we went from there.
I forgot I was also treasurer of Hope.
We served on the board, both of us. I was on the school board. Jay was on the treasurer. Then I was with Bert. I was assistant youth leader until we merged. We have very fond memories of Hope. It was such a loving, caring church. At the back, we greeted the visitors. Everybody felt welcome.
We moved here in 1991, and I guess I just happened across Peace because I was driving by it, and I saw it was a Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and it was in my area where I lived, and I just looked it up, I guess at that time in the Yellow Pages, probably. There was no internet back then, at least I didn't have any. And so then I went to one of the first services, and I just knew it was a good church, a good feeling for me. I guess what I liked about Peace was that it was like, reminded me of, I came from a really small town in North Dakota. My congregation was in a town of 81 people. So it was a small enough congregation that it made me feel at home. It made me feel welcomed, and I just felt very comfortable there. And a lot of the people there, I think, were from the upper Midwest, so they had a good feeling with them, because it was a bit of a culture shock to move from North Dakota to Florida. And so I guess my fondest memories were just that, most of my memories are probably from more recently with Shepherd, but with Peace, it was just, I just felt really comfortable there. I just, we've been involved more with the homeless feedings, with my younger boys and I, when they were, getting confirmed and stuff like that. And that's what I'm missing that right now. I'm really missing that community of coming together, once a month to help feed the homeless. And I'm really looking forward to getting back to doing that with the church.
Yeah, so I first started with Peace Lutheran. So a little bit of backstory. My mom married my stepdad in 1991, in July of 91. And so we moved down to Florida and found Peace Lutheran pretty much right as soon as we got down here. We were go to church every Sunday, kind of a family back in North Dakota, and wanted to continue that. And so my mom and I started attending Peace Lutheran in the late summer of 1991. Certainly. So as far as significant events in my life that kind of intersected with the church, being 6 when I got in there, being there, fairly regularly, especially early on. Hurricane Andrew, my first hurricane, was 92. We had been Floridians, if you can call us that, for about 12 months at that point. So that was kind of scary. We went to Orlando and took refuge there, came back, and church was still standing, and we were there the next Sunday. But all through my life, every major milestone event, whether it's been good or bad, the church has always been there. And so whether it was September 11th, I was a junior in high school at the time over at Cardinal Gibbons, watching that horrific day, which unbelievable that tomorrow will be the 18th anniversary, 19th anniversary of that. But that there was obviously a kind of a galvanizing force around the country with faith, and bringing people back into the church after that. But aside from world events, me personally, I remember bringing my now wife, at the time girlfriend, when we were playing drums in the church. Her and her friends, they'd come and we'd be riding around in my Jeep, and I'd have to go to practice or rehearsal, and so she'd be in there even while we were in high school together. And then obviously going through the whole process of all the religious rites for myself, both of our children being baptized there, Pastor Dan coming over to Holy Cross to see Ava when she was a day old, Pastor Stephen coming over to our house after Elle was born, a few days after we got home from the hospital, and then obviously Pastor Dan marrying us. Our as funny as it say, it's that saying that you never leave more than 20 minutes from where you grow up. I left here to go to Tallahassee for school, and then we moved to Chicago together, ended up back here, and now I live, closer than I ever have to the same building that's been part of my life since 1991. It's kind of remarkable.
Tom Crippen, my wife Carolyn, and I joined Hope Lutheran Church in Pompano Beach in 2001. We came down in the late 90s as snowbirds and found out that we lived just 8/10 of a mile from Hope Lutheran. So we visited when we was here a week or two at a time, came back and moved in 2001 and joined the church. Since then, I have been privileged to be involved in the running of that church and on committees, etc. We, as a committee that I was on, we had to decide what we was going to do with the church because we couldn't sustain it anymore. And it was really some sad times having to close down an institution of any kind, especially when you had so many friends and it was so important to people that the church and school go on. But thank God, as things work out, other people had the same problem, so that's a good deal and that's a bad deal. But at least we got to join another church that had the same problem, and now we're a bigger and better organization than we were separately. And I've still got a lot of good friends that I met here, and am very happy. Thank God that we are together, which, like I say, maybe a bad thing turns out to be a good thing, if that's possible.
How did you first find Hope Lutheran Church, and when did you start attending?
Well, I was new in the area, and I always belonged to an organization. So I looked, and I pick up the phone and I call operator, say, operator, I give him my address. What is the nearest Lutheran church I could find? Well, he gave me one from university, give me Hope, and
So how has God worked through you?
how was what?
How has God worked through you during your time at Hope? Like, how did God inspire you or touch your life?
I can't. I find myself so smoothly. I cannot believe it. And the sad thing that happened to me over there, the sad thing happened, the people are very nice. So there is no need to say, well, I have to find another church. No need for that.
Okay.
Coffee fellowship. I love to come early in the church to start making the coffee and hear Phil saying to me, Happy Sunday, Irma. That's really nice to start the day, right? And then somebody says, "Oh, it smells good. The coffee smells so good." And I, through all these years, it's starting from Peace Lutheran, I started learning how to bake American goodies to please my members of this church. How does God work through you as shepherd of the coast? Well, He knew when He brought me to this country, He knew what it was going to be my role in this world. And He teach me how to give and not to wait in return for something. He knew that I was going to learn about Him in this church. It's such a amazing life that I am now coming to this church.
Hi, my name is Allison Williams, and I am the 6th grade homeroom teacher and literature teacher for middle school here at Shepherd of the Coast Lutheran in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I first learned about Peace Lutheran and the church through my mom. She was a member, and then once I was born, she had me baptized. Shortly after my baptism, I was enrolled in the pre-K program, and we just had such a great experience and loved the community here at Peace that I stayed from pre-K through 8th grade graduation. We had 3 pastors while I was attending Peace Lutheran. We had Pastor Flores while I was in elementary school, Pastor Dan while I was in middle school, and then when I came back from college, we had Pastor Reynolds. I would say that my pastor would be Pastor Flores. What he did that really united the church was his family was very involved in the ministry. His wife led Sunday school, and his son-in-law was a musician who would help us with hosting concerts, going to Christian concerts, doing fundraisers, and led more of like a middle school youth. In fact, one of the awesome benefits to attending Peace Lutheran and having such a small class size is that all of us today are even still in contact through outlets like social media. Most of us went to kindergarten and stayed all the way through 8th grade, and it's awesome to see how well they're doing with their families and their careers today.
So tell me, how did you first find Grace Lutheran Church, and when did you start going to Grace?
We started going to Grace in 1990. I first found, the question is, how did I start going to Grace? How do I find out about Grace? We saw a pink sign on 13th Avenue that said it was an actual advertisement for the Learning Center. And we had a 2-year-old at the time, and we were looking for a church. We both had been raised in the church and felt we needed to begin going to church again since we had a family. So we contacted, it was Mimi Gear that was the Learning Center director, and we ended up, we didn't join the church till years later, but we were involved with Grace because of the Learning Center, because of our toddler child.
What are your fondest memories of your time at Grace?
The fondest memories, one of the fondest memories of my time at Grace, one of the sweetest memories is Mim Gilzo writing me a handwritten note to join the Dorcas Guild. And I was new, and I was a new mother. I didn't know really anyone at Grace. We were basically unknown. Nobody invited us to join the church as friends, so we were getting to know everyone. And she sent me a handwritten note to join the Dorcas Guild, and that was the sweetest thing. I remember being personally invited to join. I loved Pastor Bielan. Did I have a favorite pastor, or who was my pastor? Pastor Bielenberg was certainly a sweet man. Like I say, he baptized my child into the kingdom of God. I could never forget him for that. But Pastor George is kind of where I learned about my prayer life. And kind of when Pastor George was at Grace, he was kind of really who taught me why it was so important that my parents took me to church. So I really learned a lot under him.
I think from a go forward perspective and just things that I remember I remember in '91 when that building, again, grand and big and all that, where the Family Life Center is now, or the gym, that was just an open parking lot. Blacktop, a couple basketball hoops where everybody used to actually park before they walked into the sanctuary, and it's really is just amazing to see the evolution of things as that building has always stood there. The fire department has flip-flopped. It used to be on the west side in the parking lot, and now it's over on the east side and a little bit bigger. But just to see the evolution of that space and see how the school has continued to do what it does and administer a great Christian education, and see how we've kind of evolved with the times too, right? I mean, you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So the incorporation of a more modern service, right? Where there's what we have today with the round tables and the music and all that. I just think it's a great testament to the forward thinking about how are we going to adopt our faith and adopt what we do in that building, to really reach out to the community and continue to grow this, and not just grow it for the church, but grow it for the faith, and try to bring more people to know and understand who Jesus was and what that means to everybody that attends those services every Sunday morning. So, it's funny to think back that when you think, I'm only 35. And so when you think back on like one of the biggest constants in my life to this point, I mean, 31 of those years almost has been at that church. So it's pretty remarkable when you think about that, considering the schools you go through and the friends you meet. The one constant has always been that building and a lot of the people that have been there. So that's it.